Elon Musk's vision of sustainable abundance, from Tesla bots to a clout-driven post-scarcity world, by H.L. Watson. The future arrived while we were arguing about it. Post-scarcity, that darling concept of science fiction writers and Silicon Valley prophets, has graduated from pulp paperbacks to PowerPoint presentations in boardrooms, where actual money changes hands. Elon Musk, that peculiar blend of Thomas Edison and P.T. Barnum, stands at the podium preaching sustainable abundance with the fervor of a carnival barker who's discovered cryptocurrency. Meanwhile, the rest of us sit in the audience, torn between applause and healthy skepticism. I've spent considerable time in both camps. As a novelist who's dreamed up worlds where robots serve breakfast in bed, and as someone who's watched enough technological promises evaporate to fill a blockchain graveyard. The truth, as it tends to be, lurks somewhere between utopia and dystopia, dressed in the mundane clothes of human nature. What follows is part analysis, part speculation, and entirely hypothetical, a thought experiment dressed up in its Sunday best. I'll start with what Musk has actually said, stripped of the breathless media interpretations that follow him like disciples. Then I'll venture my own theoretical framework, not to contradict the man who shoots cars into space for publicity stunts, but to add texture to his vision. Think of it as adding spices to a recipe that's already intriguing but could use more flavor. My particular spin involves something I call the clout economy, where social capital becomes the new gold standard once traditional scarcity disappears. It's a world where your grandmother's Facebook likes might matter more than your grandfather's stock portfolio, where viral TikToks translate to tangible resources, and where the ancient human hunger for status finds new expression in digital realms. But I'm getting ahead of myself. When Musk speaks of post-scarcity, he doesn't whisper, he proclaims. Sustainable abundance, he calls it, as if naming a firstborn child. His vision unfolds with the certainty of someone who's already living 3 decades ahead of the rest of us, checking his watch and wondering why we're late to the party he's throwing in the future. There will be universal high income, he declares, making sure to emphasize this isn't your garden variety universal basic income that policy wonks debate over lattes. No, this is high income, everyone living like minor royalty with the best of everything. Medical care that would make Mayo Clinic jealous, food that would shame Michelin-starred restaurants, homes that respond to your thoughts before you think them, and transportation that makes first class feel like steerage. The linchpin of this grand design is Tesla's Optimus, a humanoid robot that manages to look both endearing and slightly unsettling, like a metallic toddler who's learned calculus but hasn't quite mastered walking downstairs. Musk envisions billions of these mechanical servants, each one theoretically capable of any task a human can perform, only cheaper, faster, and without the inconvenient need for bathroom breaks or workers' compensation claims. The economics here deserve attention, particularly for those of us who've spent time watching money move through markets like water through a sieve. When Musk says goods will cost almost nothing, he's not being hyperbolic. He's doing math that would make an actuary weep with joy. If a robot that costs $20,000 can work 24 hours a day for 20 years with minimal maintenance, the labor cost per hour approaches the price of a breath mint. Stack billions of these tireless workers together, and you've essentially broken the fundamental equation that's governed human civilization since we stopped being hunter-gatherers: the scarcity of labor. But robots without intelligence are just expensive furniture that occasionally moves. Enter artificial intelligence, not the narrow AI that recommends your next Netflix binge or autocorrects your text messages into embarrassing nonsense, but the kind that can diagnose your illness before you feel symptoms, design your house while you describe your dreams, and manage supply chains with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker on performance enhancers. Tesla's full self-driving technology represents just the tip of this particular iceberg. Musk's xAI, his latest venture into the consciousness manufacturing business, aims higher toward AI that doesn't just drive your car, but understands why you want to go where you're going, and perhaps suggests better destinations entirely. The energy question, that eternal party pooper at every futurist gathering, gets its own treatment in Musk's cosmology. Solar panels and batteries, he insists, supplemented by a nuclear renaissance that would make mid-century optimists weep with vindicated joy. The numbers are compelling enough to make even a reformed financial analyst pay attention. 38.4 gigawatts of new solar capacity in the US alone by 2025, each watt backed by battery storage because, as Musk notes with characteristic bluntness, solar without batteries is pretty much useless, like a Formula One car with square wheels. Tesla's Megapack installations read like a conquest map of the energy sector, each deployment a beachhead in the war against intermittency. These aren't your grandfather's lead-acid batteries, slowly dying in the garage beside rusty lawnmowers. They're lithium-ion cathedrals, storing sunshine for cloudy days and wind for still nights. Meanwhile, nuclear power, long relegated to the environmental movement's doghouse, experiences rehabilitation driven by a new generation that's done the carbon math and found renewables alone wanting. What strikes me about Musk's vision isn't its audacity. We've come to expect that from the man who named his tunnel-boring company after a flamethrower, but its internal consistency. Each piece supports the others like a well-engineered arch. Robots need intelligence, intelligence needs energy. Energy enables production. Production eliminates scarcity, and scarcity's death births abundance. It's elegant in the way a mathematical proof is elegant, each step following logically from the last, building toward an inevitable conclusion. Yet Musk, for all his Tony Stark persona, acknowledges the shadows lurking in his electric Eden. AI safety concerns him enough that he's compared it to summoning the demon. Not exactly the kind of metaphor you'd expect from someone betting his fortune on artificial intelligence. He recognizes that even in abundance, some things remain stubbornly scarce. Beachfront property doesn't multiply no matter how many robots you build, and the Mona Lisa remains singular regardless of your net worth. These exceptions, he suggests, will shape the new dynamics of human society. Here's where I respectfully acknowledge Musk's vision before adding my own theoretical addendum. Everything he describes could work exactly as advertised. Robots multiplying like mechanical rabbits. AI solving problems we haven't even articulated yet. Energy flowing like water from an eternal spring. The technological foundation appears sound, the economics mathematically viable, the timeline optimistically plausible. But then what? Humans, bless our complicated hearts, don't stop wanting things just because we have things. We're the species that invented competitive eating after solving hunger, extreme sports after conquering predators, and reality television after achieving leisure. We're magnificently, ridiculously, inevitably status-seeking creatures. Remove money from the equation, and we'll find something else to count, measure, and compete over. Enter clout, that beautiful, terrible, addictive currency of attention and influence that already drives more behavior than we care to admit. In my theoretical model, clout doesn't replace Musk's universal high income. It becomes the mechanism through which new forms of social-based income emerge. Think of it as the operating system running on Musk's hardware, the social software that transforms raw abundance into human meaning. The mechanics might work something like this. Every interaction, creation, and contribution generates social validation tokens. Call them attention credits, status points, or whatever marketing department dreams up the catchiest name. These aren't mere likes as we know them today. Those dopamine hits that disappear into the digital ether faster than campaign promises after elections. These are blockchain-verified, AI-audited, societally weighted units of actual value. Imagine a distributed ledger of human achievement where your grandmother's perfect pie recipe, validated by thousands of grateful bakers, earns her tokens redeemable for that vintage KitchenAid mixer she's always wanted. Except the mixer costs essentially nothing to produce. So what she's really earning is priority, customization, and the ineffable satisfaction of mattering. The underlying code would make Ethereum look like a pocket calculator. Smart contracts that evaluate not just transactions, but intentions, contributions, and that most human of currencies, genuine appreciation. This isn't as far-fetched as it sounds to anyone who's watched the creator economy evolve over the past decade. We already live in a proto-version of this world, where Instagram influencers transmute followers into fortune and YouTubers convert views into villas. The difference in my post-scarcity scenario is that everyone plays. Everyone can win something meaningful, and the game itself becomes the point rather than a means to traditional wealth accumulation. Musk's universal high income assumes financial mechanisms. But what if abundance makes traditional cash as obsolete as telegraph operators? Instead, Clout could enable earning new tokens through distributed social credits, rewarded for contributions like creative content, community impact, or innovative thinking. These might be allocated via peer validations, viral reach assessments, or AI-mediated societal value calculations, turning attention into currency through multiple possible distribution methods. The safety net in this world wouldn't rely on cash transfers, but on direct provision. Post-scarcity kitchens, automated food distribution centers, ensure no hunger. Housing constructed by Optimus units wouldn't be grim government projects, but high-quality, customizable homes where construction costs approach zero. Healthcare becomes a service, not a commodity, delivered by AI diagnostics and robotic surgeons more skilled than human hands. These provisions align with Musk's abundance vision, while sidestepping traditional monetary systems entirely. The model here draws from trust fund dynamics. Many wealthy heirs don't lounge in idleness, but pursue purpose-driven activities. Similarly, prison economies demonstrate that even when basic needs are met, humans create status hierarchies and underground markets for recognition rather than survival. Wants outlive needs, and clout fills that eternal gap. Society, I predict, will split like a cell, dividing, not violently, but naturally, each half pursuing its own version of fulfillment in this new world. On one side, the family builders, those who find meaning in legacy and lineage, in the ancient human project of raising the next generation. On the other, the virtual dwellers, crafting identities and achievements in digital realms that make today's metaverse look like cave paintings. The family path offers something primal and irreplaceable, genetic legacy wrapped in emotional bonds, seasoned with the daily chaos of actual humans, depending on you for everything from midnight diaper changes to college tuition guidance. These folks might earn premium clout as culture creators and species preservers, their social media feeds becoming testimonies to human connection rather than performative lifestyle curation. There's something beautifully ancient about this trajectory, echoing back to when large families meant survival and prosperity, when having many children was the ultimate hedge against an uncertain future. Except now, with Optimus handling the logistics and AI tutoring the kids, parents can focus on what they supposedly wanted all along: actual relationship building, the cultivation of human bonds that can't be automated or optimized. I envision these family-focused individuals accumulating significant social capital through their documented commitment to humanity's continuation. Their content wouldn't just showcase perfect moments, but contribute to a cultural narrative about human connection, about what it means to choose biological legacy in an age when continuation is optional rather than inevitable. There's something profoundly meaningful about this choice, selecting responsibility and legacy when comfort and ease represent the path of least resistance. The virtual path offers different but equally compelling rewards. Freed from biological imperatives and physical limitations, these digital pioneers explore consciousness itself, building worlds in code, crafting experiences in pixels, and forming relationships with AI entities that might prove more meaningful than many human connections. Their clout comes from creation, innovation, and pushing boundaries of what experience means when reality becomes increasingly negotiable. Gaming already shows us this future's prototype, where players spend thousands of hours pursuing achievements that exist only as database entries, yet the satisfaction is demonstrably real. The status is real. The communities that form around these virtual accomplishments are real. Scale this up, add Musk's abundance as the foundation, and you get entire populations finding fulfillment in realms that don't technically exist, but feel more substantial than the physical world they've transcended. The interaction between these paths fascinates me more than their separation. Family builders might hire virtual dwellers to create educational experiences for their children, commissioning digital worlds that teach history through immersion rather than textbooks. Virtual pioneers might seek family builders' wisdom about authentic human connection to improve their AI relationships, learning from people who've mastered the art of caring for creatures that can't be turned off when they become inconvenient. Neither path is wrong. There are different instruments in humanity's orchestra, each playing their part in a composition we're only beginning to write. Yet I'd argue that choices aren't equal, and that's not a flaw, but a feature. From evolutionary principles, biology prioritizes behaviors that propagate successful genetic lines. Family paths, fostering human resilience and continuity, naturally carry more cultural weight than purely hedonistic virtual pursuits, potentially yielding higher social credit rewards in any well-designed system. This isn't to diminish digital clout. It remains vibrant and valuable within its domains. But families might dominate cultural norms, with media narratives celebrating depth and commitment over ephemeral digital achievements. The interactions blend beautifully. Family influencers collaborating with virtual creators on bot-powered educational events. But the underlying hierarchy reflects natural human drives, rather than artificial social constructs. Here's where my libertarian streak shows. Inequality isn't just inevitable in this post-scarcity world. It's necessary for the whole system to function properly. But it's a fundamentally different beast from today's wealth gaps, more akin to the difference between a lead guitarist and a bassist than between a king and a serf. Nobody starves in this future. Nobody freezes. Nobody dies from preventable diseases. The inequality manifests in recognition, influence, and that most addictive drug humans have discovered, relevance. Some people will command attention from millions. Others will barely register on the social radar. But unlike today's economic disparities, being in the lower tier doesn't mean poverty. It means comfort without glory, safety without significance. The Pareto principle, that persistent 80-20 rule that haunts human endeavors like a mathematical poltergeist, won't disappear just because robots serve the coffee and AI writes the poetry. If anything, it might intensify. When everyone can create, only the exceptional will be noticed. When everyone can speak, only the eloquent will be heard. When everyone can perform, only the remarkable will draw an audience. I estimate, and this is pure speculation dressed up in analytical clothing, that perhaps 20% of the population will opt out entirely, choosing what I call the gentle fade. They'll take their universal abundance, find a cozy corner with their AI companions, and essentially retire from the human race at age 25. They'll consume entertainment that makes today's streaming libraries look quaint, enjoy health interventions that would make today's medical establishment weep with envy, perhaps even experience simulated adventures that would make Hollywood jealous. But they won't contribute much to society's ongoing project, and more importantly, they won't care that they don't. This figure isn't arbitrary. It draws from observable patterns in digital engagement. Studies consistently show that roughly 20% of participants create 80% of content in online communities, while the remainder lurk and consume. In customer relationships, 20% of clients generate 80% of profits. In social media, 20% of users drive 80% of engagement. If this pattern holds in post-scarcity, we might expect 20% to choose comfort over contribution. This isn't tragic. It's human. Throughout history, given the choice between striving and comfort, a significant percentage has chosen comfort. The difference in post-scarcity is that this choice doesn't harm anyone else. These opt-outs aren't burdens on society. They're simply background characters in their own lives, extras in humanity's grand production. They've solved the problem of existence by choosing not to engage with its complexities. The remaining 80% will split between moderate engagement and fierce competition for peak clout. The moderates will find their niches, local influence, specialist communities, family circles, and be genuinely content with their chosen level of involvement. They'll earn enough social credits to access premium customization and priority services, while avoiding the stress of competing for viral attention. Think of them as the satisfied middle class of the attention economy. Some fierce competitors will chase viral moments like digital dragons, each trying to capture that ephemeral yet eternal currency of human attention. These will be the celebrities of the new world, but also its entrepreneurs, its innovators, its cultural leaders. They'll work harder for clout than anyone works for money today, because in a world where material needs are satisfied, psychological needs become paramount. Some might view this 20% opt-out rate as a problem requiring solution, but I see it differently. If basic needs are universally met, choosing peaceful withdrawal becomes a valid life path rather than a societal failure. Some will compete subtly within their chosen domains, upgrading AI companions, optimizing virtual environments, pursuing niche recognition among fellow travelers. The 80% who remain actively engaged keep civilization dynamic and progressing. No system achieves 100% participation. 80% success represents remarkable achievement rather than concerning failure. Musk's energy solution deserves more attention than it typically gets, buried as it is under the sexier headlines about robots and rockets. The marriage of nuclear and solar plus batteries isn't just practical, it's poetic, like watching two different musical traditions harmonize into something neither could achieve alone. Nuclear provides the baseline, the steady heartbeat of civilization that keeps the lights on when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine. The nuclear renaissance Musk envisions isn't your father's nuclear industry, bureaucratic, expensive, and slower than geological time. The new nuclear is modular, factory-built, and deployed like very expensive but incredibly efficient Lego sets. Small modular reactors promise construction times measured in years rather than decades, costs measured in millions rather than billions, and safety systems that make Chernobyl seem as quaint as a steam engine explosion. Meanwhile, solar's trajectory looks less like growth and more like explosion contained within silicon cells. The 38.4 gigawatts of new capacity Musk references for 2025 represents more than just panels. It's an entire ecosystem of inverters, tracking systems, and those crucial batteries that transform intermittent energy into reliable power. Tesla's Megapack installations read like a conquest map, each installation a beachhead in the war against energy scarcity. The synergy between these technologies creates what engineers call resilience and what poets might call harmony. Nuclear handles the baseline load, hospitals, data centers, the endless appetite of AI training clusters that consume electricity like digital locusts. Solar plus batteries manages the peaks and provides the flexibility for a world where demand might spike, because 1 billion people decided to throw virtual parties simultaneously. Energy abundance changes everything else in ways that aren't immediately obvious. When electricity becomes essentially free, manufacturing costs plummet not just from robot labor, but from the elimination of energy as a significant input cost. When transportation becomes electric and autonomous, the entire logistics industry transforms. When computing power becomes unlimited, AI capabilities expand exponentially. This foundation enables everything else in Musk's vision. Without abundant, reliable energy, robots become expensive paperweights. AI becomes a luxury rather than ubiquity, and post-scarcity remains a fantasy. But with energy abundance, the entire economic equation shifts. Manufacturing becomes a matter of raw materials and robot labor, both approaching zero marginal cost. Distribution becomes automated logistics networks powered by clean electricity. The constraint isn't energy or labor, it's human imagination and the social frameworks we build to channel our creative impulses. Culture in this post-scarcity world won't just change, it'll speciate like Darwin's finches, each subculture evolving to fill its particular niche in the new social ecosystem. The family-focused communities might develop entirely new rituals around birth and growth, celebrations that make today's gender reveal parties look quaint by comparison. They'll create art about connection, stories about legacy, myths about the meaning of continuation in an age when continuation is a choice rather than necessity. Their cultural productions will likely emphasize depth over breadth, relationship over achievement, wisdom over cleverness. Imagine family-centered reality, shows where the drama comes not from manufactured conflict, but from the genuine challenges of raising humans who might live for centuries. Picture novels that explore the psychology of choosing to have children when children are no longer economic necessities, but pure expressions of hope and love. The virtual communities will push different boundaries entirely. They'll explore consciousness, creating experiences that blur the line between real and simulated until the distinction becomes philosophy rather than physics. Their art will be interactive, immersive, impossible. Cathedrals of code that exist only when observed. Symphonies that adapt to each listener's neurological patterns. Stories that rewrite themselves based on the reader's choices. These digital natives will develop their own aesthetic languages, their own values, their own definitions of success and failure. They might measure accomplishment in terms of consciousness expansion, relationship depth with AI entities, or the elegance of virtual worlds they've created. Their cultural artifacts will exist primarily in digital formats that earlier generations can't fully appreciate, like trying to explain color to someone born blind. The tension between these cultural streams will generate its own creative energy. Imagine debates between those who insist biological children are the only real legacy, and those who argue their AI creations are their offspring in every meaningful sense. Picture the marriage negotiations when someone from a family-focused background falls in love with a dedicated virtual dweller. These conflicts won't threaten society. They'll energize it, providing the drama that humans seem to need like plants need sunlight. The cloud economy will develop its own cultural artifacts, status symbols that can't be bought but only earned through genuine accomplishment. These might include achievements that require not just resources but time, skill, and community recognition. Imagine social credit certificates that verify someone's contribution to human knowledge or their impact on others' lives. Accomplishments that make today's LinkedIn endorsements look like participation trophies. Tensions may arise if prestige gaps breed resentment between high clout influencers and the socially invisible, but abundance softens these edges significantly. Unlike today's wealth inequality, no one suffers material deprivation from low social standing. More importantly, the freedom to switch paths, from family focus to virtual dwelling or vice versa, keeps the system fluid rather than creating permanent castes. Gaming culture provides a preview of these dynamics. Players today spend enormous effort pursuing achievements that have zero monetary value but significant social capital within their communities. They form guilds, develop hierarchies, create elaborate ceremonies around virtual accomplishments. Scale this to society-wide systems backed by AI verification and blockchain permanence, and you get a glimpse of post-scarcity social dynamics. The media landscape will transform accordingly. Today's influencers chase algorithmic fame through controversy and attention-grabbing stunts. Tomorrow's clout earners will need to demonstrate genuine value creation, whether through family documentation, virtual world building, educational content, or community building. The platforms themselves will evolve to reward depth over virality, substance over sensation, because in a post-scarcity world, quality becomes the primary differentiator. What emerges from this speculation is a picture of humanity's next act. Not the final act, mind you, but the next chapter in a story that's been unfolding since we first looked at fire and decided we could do better. Musk's technology provides the stage, the lighting, and the sound system. The clout economy provides the script, or at least the improvisation framework that keeps the performance from devolving into chaos. In my science fiction narratives, I've often written about post-scarcity societies, but they've always felt slightly hollow, missing some essential human element that makes existence meaningful rather than merely comfortable. What Musk's vision provides, and what my clout economy attempts to complete, is a framework where human nature doesn't need to change for paradise to function properly. We can remain our status seeking, achievement hunting, recognition craving selves. The game continues, only the prizes change. The transition won't be smooth or immediate. Traditional industries will resist obsolescence, governments will struggle to adapt taxation and regulation to clout based economies, and humans will need time to psychologically adjust to abundance. But the underlying momentum appears unstoppable. Automation relentlessly reduces labor costs. AI capabilities expand exponentially, and energy production scales toward effective infinity. The geopolitical implications are staggering. Nations that successfully implement post-scarcity frameworks might attract massive immigration from countries still trapped in traditional scarcity economics. Brain drains could become civilization drains, with entire populations migrating toward abundance. International relations will need to account for vastly different internal economic systems. How do you negotiate trade agreements with a country where goods cost nothing to produce? The future Musk describes isn't just possible. It's probable, assuming we don't artificially intelligent ourselves into extinction first, or succumb to some other existential risk that makes all this speculation moot. The robots will come, as inevitable as sunrise. The energy will flow, as abundant as sunlight and atomic bonds. What happens next depends not on technology, but on that most unpredictable variable in any equation, human choice. Will we chase family legacy or virtual achievement? Will we compete for clout or settle for comfortable mediocrity? Will we use abundance to explore the stars or to perfect the art of leisure? The answer, of course, is yes, all of the above, in proportions we can't predict, creating a future that's both exactly what we expect and nothing like we imagined. In this hypothetical science fiction scenario, post-scarcity becomes a chapter of hustle and heart, where Musk's technological facts, Optimus robots, advanced AI, abundant energy, build the foundation, while clout emerges as the story's protagonist, enabling new forms of social-based income through community validation and recognition. The stage is set, the actors are learning their lines, and the curtain is about to rise on humanity's next act. The question isn't whether we're ready. We never are. The question is whether we're brave enough to chase status in a world of plenty, to find meaning in abundance, to remain human when humanity itself becomes optional. The game is changing, but the fundamental human drives remain constant. We want to matter, to be recognized, to leave some mark on the universe that says we were here. Ready to chase status in a world of plenty?